Hello comrades, this is Tim and I'm back from my trip up to Dallas area to attend the defective gene pool ride to eat, and I wanted to share with you my Throttle configuration that I've customized the Janus Griffin 250 for long distance riding. This excursion, the Janus's first overnight trip, was about 1,000 miles. I went to Houston to get a piece of equipment and then headed back up to Dallas and then back down here to the Wimberley area just south of Austin. And it was quite an excursion. I'm pleased with the configuration that I have everything in now. There'll be some minor tweaks here and there as I keep riding, but for the most part, this guy is ready for the long ride. The winds were really bad during this ride. It's November down here in Texas and the temperatures were in the 40s. Wind was coming out of the north. Every time the Canadians open up their refrigerator, we get a big blast of cold air down here. So I put a bigger windscreen on the Janus. This is an MRA kind of universal one. Worked really well. It's very stable, even in when big trucks pass and flops around a little bit, but the mounting brackets work real good. Have a laminar flow thing on the top. I probably won't go with a larger one. This one is adequate to keep the wind off of my chest and most of my head. That keeps, I don't have to hold on to the handlebars with a death grip, because that's what I was hoping to achieve. If I went to a larger one, it would increase the drag, so I don't want to do that. So that worked really well. The instrument clusters that I have is adequate for what I need to know. Got a good GPS, the Garmin Diesel 580, and using the smartphone up here with secondary navigation and communications and all that stuff. I've got a head temperature gauge here that measures the temperature of the spark plug area. As you can see right here, that's the sensor right there. It's just a little ring that goes around there. And on this trip, it was 416 degrees. At one point, it usually hovered around 350, 370, sometimes down to 320, depending on how much power I was putting on the little guy. But considering that it's right next to the thing that causes the explosions, 416 degrees may not be too bad. At any rate, the engine's not blowing up or burning up. I've got RPM gauge and a service meter hours here. I've discovered that at 7,500 RPM, it's about 62 miles an hour with no wind. My voltage meter works really good. Even with my electric gear plugged into the motorcycle for the cold, plugged in right here, it would only drop down maybe 1 amp from 14.5 down to 13.6 or 13.8, somewhere around there. So it's powering all the electrical stuff. Even at an idle, it would only drop down to the low 13 volts. So it's producing enough. My tank bag worked really good. It's got my spare glasses, the clear ones, and I wear the shades. All the rest of the stuff, that worked really good. As you can see, the motorcycle looks like it's been rode hard and put up dirty. That's kind of the thing in the long distance riding community. We only wash them every once in a while. But the Janus looks like it's been a veteran. There's only a couple of things that happened. Nothing major, of course, but the bracket that supported this aux light here broke, and I had to put duct tape. I had to borrow some duct tape from one of the riders up in Dallas to put it up there. And I had maybe probably a regular lock nut lock washer on this instead of a nylon lock nut that I prefer, and it came off. So I put a piece of wire tie on there that hold this thing, hold that to that Throttle bar. But those were the only two things that happened. I used about a little less than a quart of oil on that. I mean, a little less than a half a quart of oil on that 1,000-mile ride, and that most of that got blown out of the breather. As you can see, the little Janus doesn't have any oil pressure. It just slings all the oil around. So any weeps you see is just stuff that gets weeped out through the seals. no issues. Even in the cold weather, the little guy started up real good. 3-position choke on this. You crank it up there, give it about 5 or 6 seconds, put it on the middle one, let it run for about a minute, and then that, I didn't have any issue with the motorcycle not starting up. I adjusted the chain at one gas stop. Took me about 5 minutes. Took me longer to get the tools out of the bag here and come back over here and take the cotter pin out and do all that stuff than it did to adjust it. So I'm going to work on those procedures. These are all my spares. I was going to put a 50 caliber ammo can just like that one over here on this rack that I fabricated. But I discovered doing my weight and balance stuff that the can weighs 6.5 pounds, and all of the tools inside of this 1 pound bag only weigh 7 pounds, so that would be kind of stupid. And besides, the soft luggage kind of looks pretty good in here. I went to Houston to get this bag here for my bike cover. It's going to be mounted on the back of the aux tank, and then my hydration system will be here. The aux tank is about the same size that this bag is here, 15 inches by 9 by 7 inches high. That's the new aux tank. It's going to hold 4 gallons, so I have 4 gallons here, 2 gallons here, and at 50 miles plus a gallon, I'm going to get about 300 miles. I did all the run out of gas testing stuff during this ride, and you can see, I'll put a link to the big spreadsheet down there that you can see later. And as you can see, I got well over 100 miles per tank on the stock tank. Went to reserve around 70, had about another 30 miles after that. I did discover that there's a discrepancy between the miles calculated by the motorcycle odometer and my GPS. It's the odometer is 93% of the miles calculated by the GPS, but the speedometer is dead on as far as the indicating a speed. I looked down at 60 miles an hour on the speedometer, and the GPS says 60 miles an hour, so that was dead on. I don't know how to reconcile that. Maybe it has a screw underneath that you can turn and tune that. Who knows? When I did run out of gas, I would stop on the side of the road and put gas in it. I had this Roto Packs 1 gallon gas can bolted to the frame. I cut the bottom of the bag out, bolted it up. That way, if I'm at a gas station, nobody can see the thing and walk off with it because it doesn't have a lock on it. No other big issues. I'm looking forward to doing the next service on it, and maybe I'll discover other little things. But other than that, the little guy ran pretty good. The next big test is I'm going to swap out this the stock 47 tooth rear sprocket and put on a 43 tooth rear sprocket, see if I get a change in my moving average miles per hour. Right now it's 55 in headwinds and crosswinds and all the rest of that stuff. So I'm looking for at least 2 or 3 more miles an hour for moving average. I'd like to get that up to 60 before I enter the Iron Butt Rally, by which, by the way, I put in my application today, so hopefully I get drawn for that in the hopeless class or the regular class. Other than that, I appreciate your time, and watch for more stuff on hard riding adventures. Bye-bye.